Hello and welcome to part 2 of Rocking Chair with me, your host Al King. We're going to continue on through the B section today, see what we come up with. Aha! Well, straight into some gold. So obviously the 70s is the best decade for music for various reasons. We'll probably touch upon them as we go through, but one of the great things about the 70s is this sort of proliferation of genres, an incredibly ambitious, motivated, enthusiastic new generation of musicians. The idea of progression, moving away from traditional forms and structures, and critically, fusion. I mean, the two key words are progression and fusion. A great example of that is BeBop Deluxe. Now, as with a lot of really good music that's kind of like, you know, progressive and fusing genres, it's like difficult to classify, but they often get lumped in with kind of like, you know, the art rock movement or glam, and they're neither, and you know, better than most of the exponents in any of those particular genres. The band is BeBop Deluxe, headed up by the marvellous Bill Nilsson, who I believe is a Yorkshireman. They released a series of great albums in the 70s, including Sunburned Finish, which for a lot of people would be the choice. Futurama. And then, you know, because I'm a bit of a completist, I've got the last album, Dressed in Plastic. I've also got a best of, and the rest of. So it's like, you know, greatest hits plus some outtakes. Again, why do we like vinyl? Closer to the artist, immersion into the listening experience. Wonderful stuff. By the way, the camera is automatically reversing all this stuff, and I can't find the option either in the video or in the on Vimeo. So it's probably in the premium version. They want to pay me extra, but I'm not going to. Anyway, you need all the BeBop Deluxe stuff, but the best one is Modern Music by BeBop Deluxe. It is absolutely spectacularly cool, and one of my regular go-tos. Okay, we've got some Pat Benatar here, which is no bad thing. Bit of Cure. Obviously, you know, you're going to need all of Bowie's 70s works. His finest hour is, of course, Hunky Dory, with my mate Mr. Wakeman on keyboards. Talking about progression and fusion in the 70s, you get the fusion of jazz and rock in two different directions. You have jazz rock, and it's rock with jazzy elements, and then fusion, which a lot of people lazily lump into the same. They're completely different genres. Jazz rock, self-explanatory, rock that's jazzed up. Fusion, yeah, think of it more as rock jazz. So it's jazz, but it's rocked up. Very different. But anyway, Blood, Sweat and Tears are a fantastic example of jazz rock. And this best of is essential as you build your collection and your understanding of genres. Big Star. We'll touch on power pop as we go throughout the you know, the presentation, whatever this is. But you know, power pop in many ways is the perfect musical genre. It effectively, the term was coined by Pete Townsend, and what it effectively does, it takes the songcraft and the, you know, melodious, harmonious qualities of, say, of masters like the Beatles, and then it just injects a bit of, you know, kind of like Who-like power, or maybe even Led Zepp kind of like hard rock. And so you get the best of both worlds, and you get an explosion of power pop in the 70s, particularly in America, as this whole new generation of people take up the guitars and start playing. And Big Star are probably the finest exponents of that. So this is a Big Star compilation called Big Star's Biggest, which is absolutely critical to have any credibility at all in your vinylarium. As of course is pretty much everything by Blind Faith. This is a short-lived supergroup featuring Eric Clapton and, of the two, I think, better talent, Steve Winwood, who's just one of the ultimate all-rounders, really, one of my pop gods, if you like. So yeah, get your Blind Faith. everyone's heard of Fleetwood Mac, and everyone's heard of Stevie Nicks. But of course, before she was in Fleetwood Mac, she was in Buckingham Nicks with Lindsey Buckingham, who was the guitarist in Fleetwood Mac. And I wouldn't want to say this is a better album than Rumours, because that would be very difficult to substantiate, but it is a superb piece of work, and it's available on delightfully clear orange vinyl. But yeah, get Buckingham Nicks, and then if you're familiar with like that period of Fleetwood Mac just after Peter Green leaves, and well, even when he's still there actually, and the second guitarist comes in, his name escapes me, but anyway, it's interesting to see how they're coming from this more Laurel Canyon direction, whereas Fleetwood Mac are coming from that, you know, British blues folk direction, and ultimately they fuse to stay on topic. Yeah, obviously you need Blondie. Duh. Still 70s. And then what have we got here? Oh yeah. Interesting. A bit of Brand X. That's jazz rock. Buzzcocks. Quick note here on what happens in the late 70s. You basically get, you know, punk, and then round about the same time, new wave. And they really should not be, again, lumped in together or confused. Punk, you know, is all about attitude. It's an art rock sort of fashion movement, really. There's not a lot of musicianship or songcraft going on. New wave, however, is replete with the kind of pop sensibilities you would associate with power pop, but with a little bit of kind of like punk attitude. And probably the finest exponents of that are the Buzzcocks. So fill your boots with Buzzcocks, singles going steady. That's all you need. Everybody's happy nowadays. Buffalo Springfield. This is obviously the band where Stephen Stills and Neil Young came from before they formed Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. With the other two guys, they're one of the most important bands of the late 60s, and you know, this is a great best of. So that's essential for your collection to have any cred. I will not have anybody diss the Bay City Rollers. In many ways, they're the closest to what Britain got to the Beach Boys. The harmonies and the songs are superb. And again, you know, why do we like vinyl? I mean, there's so much fun to be had with the packaging here. I don't have a favourite band member because I'm not a teenage girl, but Bye Bye Baby off that album is absolutely killer songwriting. And you need it. Oh. Ha! Jeff Buckley. Right, so this is 90s, but head and shoulders above almost, well, yeah, all other records released in the 90s. The best record by a country mile is Grace by Jeff Buckley, the son of Tim Buckley, who I passed over perhaps rudely back earlier in the Bees, but yeah, with the famous cover of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. This is superb. And this one sorts the men out from the boys, because sadly he only really made this one album before he died, when he went for an ill-advised swim in the Mississippi. But have you seen Jeff Buckley live? Probably not. I have. We mentioned Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. This is a compilation album called So Far. It is just flawless. Here's the track listing: Deja Vu, Helplessly Hoping, Wooden Ships, Teach Your Children, Ohio, Find the Cost of Freedom, Side 2, Woodstock, written by Joni Mitchell, of course, even though she wasn't there, Our House, Helpless, Guinevere, and then Sweet Judy Blue Eyes. I mean, you know, I have no problem with picking compilations and indeed live albums and putting them head to head against, you know, studio albums in a fair competition. This would probably be the greatest album of all time if you allowed compilations in. What a flawless set of tracks from one of the most important bands of all time. Right up there, shared #1 position with the Beatles. Some more BeBop Deluxe. Ha! That's a singles compilation. What a great band. What a great album. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. From Athens, Georgia, ladies and gentlemen, the B-52s. Crazy college alternative rock. Yeah, but you know, when I was at university in the 80s, you would drop anything by the B-52s, but particularly, Rock Lobster. The place would go fucking wild. Way more fun than Smith's. Jackson Brown, one of the key people from the Laurel Canyon scene, who wrote Take It Easy, which was what helped put the Eagles on the map. You need all his early stuff. Obviously the Byrds as well. We've talked about Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Well, obviously Crosby comes from the Byrds, and you know all of their albums are good. But History of the Byrds, complete with a Pete Frame family tree, there is not necessarily all you need, but it's a damn good place to start. Well, this guy is you know, he's a musician, a guitarist, a songwriter. This is Eric Clapton's favourite guy. You've probably heard a lot of J.J. Cale songs covered by Eric Clapton, and indeed by Lynyrd Skynyrd. So most famously, probably Cocaine, and then The Breeze. Call Me the Breeze, even. Yeah. I mean, Magnolia, if you want a ballad to play to your wife, or your girlfriend, or your partner, or your significant other. But yeah, J.J. Cale, absolute, you know, it's kind of Americana, I guess, bluesy, country, singer-songwriter stuff, but just flawless, really, one of the greats. So yeah, Philly Boots, that's a great compilation, special edition it's called. Yeah, we talked in the first episode about Dion and Benny from ABBA being into the Carpenters. There are plenty of Carpenters compilations available. This is a particularly good one. You know, the best of, the greatest hits, or the singles edition 1-on-1. Songcraft, melody, harmony. Yeah, just amazing. Okay, here's an artist who I am particularly fond of. Julian Cope, who you'll know probably from The Teardrop Explodes. But yeah, I've been to see Copey. He, like me, is a huge fan of the Ellsworth Tentacles, and Ed from the Ellsworths got me on the guest list. Copey was headlining, but he actually wanted to go on first so that he could then enjoy the Ellsworths show, which is the ultimate endorsement of how good the Ellsworths are, and particularly as a live band. But yeah, get all of the Julian Cope stuff. It's just superb. You know, he's mixing, well, everything really. Psychedelia with Baroque pop. It's just outstanding. Yeah, there is actually a great compilation. I think this is a compilation. No, it's not. I've made a mistake. That's World Shut Your Mouth. Duh. Shut up. Okay. I'm not a big fan of, like, you know, ska two-tone, so I wasn't massively into the specials, although, you know, part of growing up, and, you know, they were good, so you get involved. But Terry Hall, no doubt in the man's talent. Solo work, yeah, great, but his absolute high point is the album called Virgins and Philistines with a band called Colourfield. I went to see these in Sheffield on this tour. It's an absolutely superb album. Kicks off with the single Thinking of You, and then just gets better and better. And yeah, you're talking about an artist who, you know, the interesting thing about that time in the 80s was how indie, you know, was kind of fusing with jazz. There was a lot of jazz, and, you know, Weller leaves the Jam and, you know, sets up the Style Council. And, you know, they're using jazz chords, they've got brass sections. Really interesting time for music. Boom, boom, boom. Well, just in case we don't actually get to it. So I've gone past a couple of albums by these guys now. But yeah, in the 80s, obviously, Spandau Ballet and Duran Duran, for example, would be sort of like, you know, bothering the charts. But there's always that second tier of bands who are actually better. China Crisis would be one of them. Liverpool Lads, love this album title. Difficult shapes and passive rhythms. Some people think it's fun to entertain. Yeah, Working with Fire and Steel, superb. The masterpiece, of course, is Flaunt the Imperfection. It's about 4th, 5th album produced by Todd Rundgren. Oh my goodness, that's good record. You really do need that, people. Yes, you do. There's the compilation by Julian Cope, Flawed Genius. It's the best of Julian Cope and Teardrop Explodes. That is a phenomenal record. We'll talk about Teardrop Explodes when we get to T, but yeah, that one, all good homes should have one. What have we here? A bit of Elvis Costello, who was obviously one of the greatest singer-songwriters that we've ever produced. But yeah, look at this for a bit of fun when it comes to packaging. Ooh. It's quite difficult to do while maintaining a vertical position. Yeah, just listen to everything on vinyl. It's better. Okay, what have we got here? That is old and knackered. Oh my god. That's a Creedence Clearwater Revival album. Oh, Green River. That is so old. I picked that up in Berkeley, probably at Amoeba or Rasputin. Yeah, you need your Creedence, you really do. I mean, I'm an ordained Doobies priest, and obviously the Dude's favourite band was CCR, but they are like, if I was going to choose America's house band, a bit like Status Quo would be Britain's house band, Creedence, CCR, would be America's house band. You know, John Fogerty, what a master songwriter, a disciplinarian, ruthless, drilled the band. You know, there was no fucking sex and drugs there, it was just all rock and roll. And yeah, the work rate is outstanding, so what you get is a run of brilliant albums. And one of the best double live sets of all time, recorded at the Albert Hall at their peak, which was only released relatively recently, is Creedence Clearwater Revival live at the Albert Hall. That is essential. Okay. So, we talked about jazz rock earlier. Chicago are a great example of jazz rock. Oh my god, look at this. Oh, that's the problem with storing vinyl and shipping around the world. So yeah, Chicago, a bit on the Doobies, who we'll touch on probably in the next episode. You know, they're a band who, at some point, get a new singer, or the guy in the band who used to sing backing vocals gradually comes forward as the, you know, singer, and the sort of the vibe of the band changes from jazz rock to kind of like a little bit more ballady poppy stuff. But Chicago, from their formation through until Peter Cadera takes over, and then gets a little bit sort of soft. But anyway, yeah, this is, well, just remarkable. I mean, one forgets. That's why I'm doing this, because, you know, there's stuff in here that I've forgotten about, and some of it's worth a bob or two. Sorry about the poor state of that, but oh, what an album! Yeah, so you need most Chicago stuff. There are two greatest hits available: Chicago Greatest Hits 1 and 2. If that's all you're going to get, that's fine. You'll be more than happy and satisfied with just those two. There's that China Crisis album, the masterpiece produced by Todd Rundgren, Flaunt the Imperfection. Ow. Yeah, obviously the Doors, you're going to need pretty much, you'll need the first and the last Doors album for sure, so the Doors and then LA Woman, and then there are some killer compilations out there. Possibly the best is 13. Why is it called that? Because Jim died young and it's really unlucky. No, it's because there are 13 tracks on it. Yeah, and 13 brilliant tracks too. So yeah, you'll need your Doors. And then yes, you will definitely need pretty much everything ever done by the Doobies, because they are just flawless. And yeah, it looks like I've got everything the Doobies ever did. Toulouse Street. What were once vices are now habits. Stampede. The Cat Kin and Me. And then, you know, even though they probably did their best work in the 70s, you know, there's some later albums which are absolutely killer as well, including Circles. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Doobies. Again, fusing sort of, you know, rock with funk. It was very soulful. A bit of blues in there as well. It's what the 70s are all about. You are gonna need all the early Dire Straits stuff. That's the second album, Communique. That's obviously the first one, 1978, with Songs of Swing on it. Which, of course, goes like this. Not plugged in, and I'm not that good. Obs. Anyway, I think that'll probably do us for episode 2. Thank you for listening. Now to upload to the Tinterweb.